Jayne, it is so wonderful to have you here today for this concert, you and the Fire Spitters, November the 10th. And I'm going to write that date down in history because I've been trying to get you to Virginia since 1994 for the first conference.
Well, I'm really delighted to be here,
Well, that's
and
wonderful.
really happy to be here to perform with the Fire Spitters. I mean, that's amazing for us.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I was thinking about, how long have you been performing with them?
Oh God, I started the band in 1980, so we have been performing since then till 1980 to 2006, which is now November 10th, 2006. So,
26 years.
Yeah, for 26 years. But the group, you know, there's a core part of the group, and then there are added other instruments come in and out throughout the years. So we've worked with as many as 10 or 12 people, and then we've worked with maybe just a trio. But usually I'm always performing with the drums, the bass, maybe 2 saxophones, and guitar. The nice thing about having your own band is that everything, or all of the music, or the musicians are inventing off of your work. And this is why it's working so well, is that I'm not trying to do something, you know, off of the music. They are all, the poetry is the centerpiece. And they are improvising and inventing and doing what they're doing based on the work itself.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's the best way to do it.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
So they are inspired to be improvisational.
Right. So, and I'm inspired, you know, by them, and we keep this call and response pattern going.
Well, that's the African way.
That's the African way. And so the collaborations have really been great.
Yeah, Tony Bolden talks about sound-based poetics in talking about your work, and that's exactly the way I see it as well. Blues and jazz working so effectively to present those messages that you have.
Yeah, but you know, it's also about the word, and because words have sound, you know, you're working with the sound of those words and phrases and attitude as the way you're saying it, mixed with those other elements of music, jazz or blues, you know, but mixed with that within the word itself, that is creating another kind of sound.
Has art had an impact on your work as well? Yeah. I know you're married to a wonderful artist.
That's what I was going to say. Yes, it's had a very big impact on my life. Yes, I'm married to a sculptor. I'm married to Melvin Edwards, and we've done books together, and he's done a lot of drawings for my books, and I did some poetry for a book of photographs of his series, I guess, called the Lynch Fragments series.
Yes.
And
powerful.
Yeah, a very book called Fragments. And so we do a lot of things together because, you know, when I was in high school, I was an art student. I really thought I was going to be a painter. And in Los Angeles, California, where I grew up, I went to a school that was kind of like the art high school or something like that, you know. And I thought, I would be a painter, and that's what I was interested in. I was interested in art, visual art. I was interested in music, and not that interested in poetry, you know. But I wrote it, but I wasn't that interested. I just thought I would be, you know, a painter. And that, you know, that remained because that was something I did every day, but all of these other things came into that, to what I was doing every day, and it all became one thing. And I'm doing the same thing today.
You've been working a long time, and you have made a tremendous impact. And I suppose if people have to think about your work, you've been writing since the Black Arts Movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've really developed so much in terms of pushing your work forward. You're not just a jazz poet, you are a surrealistic poet, you are a sort of secular priestess, if you will. You really are. All those things, all those things. Yeah. And speaking of the Black Arts Movement, what tenets of that movement do you carry in your poetry still?
Well, I carry the fact that there was a Black Arts Movement. There still is a Black Arts Movement as long as you're moving. Your work and being in the Black Arts Movement meant that you were more outspoken. You were becoming freer with the word and freer to really experiment. And we did a lot of experimenting in the 1960s and 70s. And just to carry that experiment and continue it, and to try to take it all to different levels, and as you're having more experiences, to bring all of that together. And I think that that just means a continuation of what you were doing in the 1960s.
Right, because it was about change.
It was about change and independence, and how do you use the experiences, and how do you make a work that is much more dynamic than what it had been, and all of that. And so I don't see any of that stopping. To say today we have the Black Arts Movement, or whatever you were doing was Black Arts, and right now we're not doing that no more because we don't wear our hair that way, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not true.
Exactly,
you know,
yeah.
What you started to develop within your work at that time, for me, it's a live and a life kind of thing, and it just continues.
Because your poetry combines the sound with the message and with the cause. It continues to be activist poetry.
It continues in its activist way because I'm an activist. You know, it continues because I'm having various experiences that I'm using along with those other experiences, and all of the knowledge, you know, that you get from the various cultures that you touch down in. And so it continues.
If you had the opportunity to tell young poets, teenagers, college students, what they needed to do to perfect the craft of writing poetry, what would you tell them?
Well,
because we're all about teaching, aren't we?
Yes, yes, but that's a hard one, because in poetry you have to read a lot. You have to experiment with words. You have to like words, be very attracted to languages, and then you have to listen to what everybody is saying about poetry, and then you have to be able to throw that all away and start for yourself. You know, and so the whole point, I guess, is for you to develop yourself in such a way that you have something to bring to poetry, you know. And I think you can. I think a young person can do that by having a lot of experiences, gaining a lot of knowledge about literature, and you know, and have a purpose, but not to see that as a job. Not to see that, you know, as anything, a career.
That's right.
Not to see that as anything like you want to promote yourself because you want to profit and do this, because poetry is about being free. It's about being independent. It's about being able to, you have the capacity and to bring something into the poetic world that is you, because you have become that poetic person, you know. But it's not about conquering anybody, you know. It's not about going out having a war or using somebody else's references. It's not about that. It's about you finding you and taking yourself to all of the levels that you possibly can go.